Hello there, welcome to another of our Cloud9 Spain, Cloud9 Prestige videos. In this one we're going to be talking about the buying process. You found your perfect property here in Spain, what happens next? It's a very simple procedure actually, a lot of people are put off. It is different to the procedure back in perhaps the UK and other Northern European countries. I think it's a better system. There are three things that need to happen once a deal has been agreed and once a price has been agreed between a buyer and a seller. First one is, as a buyer, you will need to sign what's called a reservation form. It's a very simple document. It sets out the main terms of the sale. Second thing that needs to happen is that the vendor also needs to sign that document as well. And the third thing that needs to happen is that you will need to pay a reservation deposit. Now that deposit normally is around €6,000. For expensive properties it can be a lot more, but normally around €6,000, which is paid either to the agent or my recommended way is to pay it to your lawyer, because then the lawyer has control of the money. What happens after that? Well, the important thing is that once those three things have been done, the property is off the market. So you can actually relax knowing that that property is not going to be viewed by any other parties and it's not going to be sold from under your nose. What happens then is that you appoint a lawyer, either with or without the help of your agent, and your lawyer will then speak to the vendor's lawyer. They will get their heads together and they will draw up what's known as a private purchase contract. Now within that contract are the main conditions of sale and also the estimated completion date. So we agree on a completion date, it goes into the contract, and at that point you as a buyer will need to pay 10% of the purchase price. Now what's happened during that time to that point is that the lawyers will have checked on the legality of the property to make sure that the licenses are all in place, that the license to build was properly executed, and that the property is legal and also free of any debt. So it means that the legal work starts right at the beginning. You pay your 10% for the private purchase contract, and after that, for resale properties, you can sit back and just wait until completion. At completion, the balance of the funds are payable and the property becomes yours. It's a very simple process. Slightly different for new builds and off-plan properties, because in that case, obviously you're having to wait a little bit longer for completion, sometimes up to 2 or 3 years. So what happens there is that you still pay a reservation deposit, you still sign a private purchase contract which outlines the conditions of sale and puts a completion date into the contract. But sometimes then you'll have to pay further payments during construction, particularly if it is a little time away, before the final payment on completion. Okay, one question we're asked by every client is how much does it cost in terms of the cost of the property on top of the purchase price. We always estimate around 11 to 12% that you need to allow on top of the purchase price for the buying costs. These comprise, for resale properties, transfer tax, which is 8% up to €400,000. It's 9% between 400,000 and 700,000, and 10% for the value over 700,000. We also have legal fees, which are normally 1% plus EVA. We have land registry fees and notary fees. I can't give an exact amount, the reason being that it depends on which town hall is dealing with the property, on how many pages there are on your title deeds. But overall, transfer tax, legal fees, land registry and notary, we normally say allow for around 11 to 12%. For new builds, where you're the first occupier, the first owner of the property, and obviously for off-plan developments, the costs are a little bit higher. The reason being that you don't pay transfer tax, you pay EVA, which is like VAT, and that is a flat fee of 10%. And you also pay stamp duty, which is 1.5%. So you have those two, you have the legal fees still, you have the notary fees, land registry fees. So all in all, we say for new builds and off-plan properties allow for around 14 to 15% on top of the purchase price. So a little bit higher than for resale properties. Again, one question we're asked a lot is, do the buying costs increase if somebody takes out a Spanish mortgage? Yes, they do. The reason being that Spanish mortgages have their own set of deeds, so they attract their own costs. So normally we say if you're taking out a Spanish mortgage for around 60-70% of the value of the property, allow for between 1 and 2% extra charges on top for the Spanish mortgage. And the final thing we always advise clients on when buying a Spanish property is take out a will. Your assets will be covered, your worldwide assets will be covered, and your Spanish assets will be covered by your will back at home. but it takes a long time sometimes for that to be sorted out. It's much, much easier if you have your Spanish assets set out in a separate Spanish will. It's a couple of €100 to set up, nothing really in terms of the hassle it's going to save, and it's well worth doing, and it can be done very, very quickly indeed. One more thing, power of attorney, something that is bandied around. Some people don't understand what it means. It's very straightforward. It simply means that you give the lawyer the rights to sign documents on your behalf. So it means that once you've reserved a property, you don't have to be here again, really. Next time you come, you can just move straight into your home and it's completed and furnished and everything. It means that the lawyer can sign private purchase contracts. They can even sign at completion for you. Again, it's a very simple and cost-effective way of finding a no-hassle way of buying a Spanish property. It means you don't have to come back to Spain every few months. You don't have to be at the notary for completion, which can often be delayed. So it's well worth doing and something that we recommend to all of our clients. I hope this has been useful. Please check out our YouTube page for our collection of videos, and I'll see you again soon.